Okay, so I'm going to talk about Venus in Scorpio, which was a request video. I had some others that I still needed to do first, but this is a really interesting placement and it's been on my mind today, so I'm going to record it today. Before I get into the video, I just wanted to advertise myself for like 10 seconds. I am an aspiring astrological entrepreneur and I'm creating a forecast project on Patreon that I'm actually really proud of. I put a lot of work into it and I created this calendar where you can see all the shifts and aspects on the same document, and then underneath it an index, and under that it's like a detailed description of what's going on every day and kind of what you can expect energetically. I tried to make it really positive. I believe that if you're doing predictive work, it should be positive predictions. Otherwise, you're kind of making people afraid of the future. And if you're trying to bring the future to the present, you should do it with the best intentions. Otherwise, it gets kind of dangerous. I mean, that's what all that apocalypse shit is about. But anyway, we are talking about Venus and Scorpio. So, this is an interesting placement. So this is someone that is going to completely devour their partner. They have a really intense sexual appetite, but it's not necessarily just physical. It's coming from a really deep, intense, emotional place, kind of within your gut more than your heart sometimes, but like you feel this urge to connect with another person really strongly. And typically you need a really heavy amount of romance in there. This isn't necessarily someone who has a lot of partners, but when you do have a partner, it's kind of all encompassing of your life and it becomes a really integral part of your life. And if you lose that person, it's going to be a really traumatic, grief-filled event for you, and you're going to feel like a part of you has died and that you've really lost this essence and you're yearning for it. I mean, every Venus sign experiences heartbreak differently, but this one like really crushes your world, but it's also transformational for you. Like your relationships transform the way that you are and how you exist and how you perceive reality. So they're just really integral part of everything about you, you know. So yeah, there's definitely big shift points in your life where you've either started or ended a relationship. Typically this sign will end up in a long-term relationship because even though Scorpio's a really sexual sign, it's one that craves that complexity and depth. And a lot of the time, you can't really get all of that out of just a one-night stand or a short-term relationship. Like being with someone for 5 years is a unique experience and it has a certain amount of intensity behind it. Being with the same person for 10 years is something like you cannot achieve unless you put that much work into it. And I think that most of the time Venus and Scorpio is really intrigued by this and really curious, and they want to figure out a way to make it work for a long time so that it can keep building and building in its intensity. I mean, Scorpio is also a fixed sign, so you are the kind of person that once you are linked into somebody, like you are fucking hooked. You know what I mean? Like you're in there. It's just, it encapsulates so much for you and you just really fall for someone like 100% or 0%. That's how Scorpio does things. Like they either really like you or they don't, and they can always switch between those. But anyway, so this person is going to gain a lot of happiness out of all of this depth in life. They need that intensity. They need to feel, you know, they love poetry and drama and chaos to a certain degree. Like they need some kind of turmoil. I don't know how to describe it, but Scorpio thrives off that shit. Like they got it and they go with it. Um Sorry, I guess I'm really thirsty. um but at the same time, and I don't want to trigger anybody, um Venus and Scorpio, because they're prone to such intensity, they at times can put up with a lot of pain and abuse within relationships because it's still so raw to them that it's not even always appropriately a negative experience if they don't love themselves. I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but it can turn into situations where you don't have enough self-worth and you allow other people to hurt you. And obviously everyone's capable of doing that, but I think that this placement in particular, that's something to just be aware of. If you're in a relationship that is not good for you anymore, you should probably figure out a way to communicate with your partner and come to a compromise and realize you still want to be in it and that it's healthy and positive for you at the end of the day. Or you need to end it and move on with your life and hurt for a little bit and then heal and then recover and then try it again later. I mean, those are really the two options when it comes to that. But, you know, the sign's really tough and really strong and it can get through anything. It's just probably seen some things. It's probably been hurt. This isn't the easiest Venus sign to have. It's, I keep saying intense, but it really is. Like, if you come across somebody that has this placement, you can just like feel it emanating off of them. They have a really like attracting, enticing, seductive, kind of intimidating vibe about them. Like they encapsulate you with their heart space and their emotions and their romantic life. Like they make you believe it. They make you want to be in it and be a part of it and stay in it and kind of study it and observe it. Like it's a very interesting placement. If you like that kind of intensity in a partner and complexity and you want someone that you can spend your whole life figuring them out and loving together and living together and being passionate about stuff and just feeling life and like, like that raw power that Scorpio has, then you could really fall for someone that has this Venus sign. Probably a lot of people easily could. It's one that's very attracting. But like if you're a Sag and you're not into all that, then peace, bye. I just have a lot of water placements, so I get it. You're gonna be into someone that's kind of like dark and mysterious and doing their own thing, like because you're so intense, you need someone to be able to match you in certain areas and then balance you out in other areas. Because sometimes if you're both intense in the same spot, like check your houses, it can be a little bit too much, but it would be better if it was balanced out. You typically do better with people that have a lot of water placements because you need your emotional life to be understood by your partner and really anyone you're having a relationship with, because it's how you connect. It's why you connect. It's a lot of happiness and joy to share emotions with other people for you. Like that's a really intimate experience. So you probably aren't gonna have a lot of people in your life that aren't connected to their emotions because you'll get either bored or really angry. If someone's just emotionless or doesn't have time for yours is another thing. Like if someone is overwhelmed by your emotions, you're just going to cut them out because they can't handle it. And that's not a bad thing. Like you have plenty of people that want to be with you and you're just like, nah, fuck you. For whatever reasons, because Scorpio has a certain amount of self-respect. Like this is a Venus sign that can be pretty confident when they're channeling that right. Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of this has to do like if you're looking for relationship advice, a lot of this has to do with where your Venus is, and in combination what your Mars is to whatever Venus you have and where that is and how they're aspecting each other. And also your moon to a degree gives a much better reading of kind of how you are in relationships and what you need. Max! So Max. Thank you. So Venus in Scorpio is someone that's also going to be pretty dominant with a lover or with the relationships that they have, but in an equal sense, they want to be dominated. That's the funny thing about Scorpio. So they're kind of versatile in the games that they play that way. But they definitely like that mutual controlling and power struggles if it's done in a constructive way that you're kind of like, playing with each other's egos. Because that's a lot of what relationships are. Anyway, yeah, you would be down for that basically. You enjoy that experience. I think I mentioned before, you can be pretty intimidating with potential partners. Like, you try to scare them off at the very beginning, and if they aren't scared off and are intrigued further, then you know to make a connection with this person. You're like, oh, cool, you can put up with my Scorpio Venus. Like, hey, what's up? Because you don't really have time to waste on people that can't handle you. Yeah. I think I've said a lot. I hope this helps. This is only the second Venus sign I've talked about. The first one I talked about was Taurus, which was mine. And this is actually the opposite of mine. So that's pretty interesting. It's a cool placement. I've thought about it a lot. And Venus is in Scorpio right now, which is probably why it is, right? Yeah, Venus is in Scorpio right now. And it's going to move into Sagittarius on the 1st of December. So I'm really feeling the energy right now. It's 2017 in November. Feels pretty good. It's pretty intense, but like I'm linking with what my deepest desires are, and I'm like acting on my passions, and I'm understanding what I need emotionally, and I'm just like feeling all the things that I need to feel and kind of like digging up old shit and transforming it. Kind of a cool transit. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling at this point. Venus and Scorpio, pretty cool. If you're interested in the calendar forecast project that I mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to put a link in the description. And I'm also available if you want to hire me to do your birth chart. I charge $120 because there's 12 houses, and I usually spend about an hour on each house, and I would at least like to get paid $10 an hour. I know it's a lot of money, but birth charts are a lot of work, and people keep asking me about it, and then the price is too much, and I feel bad, but I'm kind of trying to make a living off of it, but more so like it's a lot of fucking effort for me. Like, I love doing it, but it takes me, like at least a week to channel all of that information out, and I can't really do that unless I have some kind of energetic exchange, if that makes any sense. So anyways, Venus and Scorpio, share the wealth, love yourself, peace.